So let me see here. Okay. Well, we are going to introduce mindfulness of emotion today. There's a series of these series of 4 introductory lessons on mindfulness meditation. Every week we do a little different aspect of it. So dealing with emotions has never been so critical as we deal with social change and the onset of technology and pandemics and the dreadful news about war and violence. I don't know how, sounds like everybody's had a good couple of weeks, but I know that there's a series of sadness when you hear of children getting shot in the wars and things like that. And it's always, the chaos is always hitting us. And so the idea of being in control of our emotions is more pertinent than ever, even for kids, you know, in university and high school. They're being bombarded with so much change. And the riverbanks of their life has been distorted. Unlike, say, when I grew up, there was protocol and you kind of knew your place in the world and had confidence. And I get the feeling that things are kind of dissipating. These ideas of dealing with tragedy are not new. It might feel new because, you know, every day we see these awful things that are on the news. But a little bit about Buddha. He was a man called Siddhartha Gautama. And he basically felt, he was protected as a young prince. And he was sheltered by pain and sorrow. And then as an adult, it was his first time being outside the palace walls, and he saw death, and he saw disease, and he saw age, and he became very sad with that, and started this journey to find out why there's so much suffering in the world. And when he just had this flash of enlightenment, he came up with the 4 Noble Truths, of which fundamentally is a way of getting rid of suffering. And the protocol, or the method he discovered or promoted, was meditation. So that's kind of, when we talk about meditation and emotions, it's the fundamental principle of why Siddhartha Gautama became the Buddha. Now, we all know now there's a difference between suffering and pain. So you know, maybe you can ask yourself that while you're listening, like, what is the difference between pain and suffering? You know, is it the same? And I think there is difference. And the Buddha gave this analogy of 2 arrows. The first arrow in battle strikes him, and he feels the initial pain of the arrow. But now there's a second shot because of the first shot. And the question came, who shot the second arrow? And what seems logical when we're dealing with arrows, the second arrow was shot by ourselves. So things happen like tragedies or misfortune, or things don't go as planned, heartache, disappointment. These things are like the first arrow. But then we begin to ruminate over it, and it over and over. And so the suffering comes by stabbing yourself with the second arrow. And so the Buddha, and when we meditate, we have to come to terms of letting go. How do we prevent shooting ourselves with the second arrow? And once we start to clue into our thoughts and emotions, then we begin to slowly identify second arrows. Jack Cornfield says, when we act so that second arrow is shot, we pass on the original pain. The second arrow is what causes suffering. It's when we bring back these painful experiences in our feelings and emotions over and over again, we begin to suffer. We continually keep shooting ourselves with that second arrow, even when the enemy's long gone. Sometimes we shoot the arrows over things that happened 25 years ago, or as a young kid, and we bring back that pain, and it's like getting shot again. So how does that fit in with emotions? Well, a child mental health expert talking about children dealing with the pain and suffering that's going on in the world and what they see on TV and they hear, says that recognizing your emotions and learning to manage them is one of the most important skills you can have and teach your kids. In fact, people who are good at noticing how they feel and can calm themselves down or adjust their behavior are more likely to do well in life and have healthy relationships and manage difficulties and setbacks. I think it's important to look at emotions first from a scientific perspective so that we have the balance of philosophy and science, which oftentimes it seems like they're in conflict, but I don't think they are. We all have intense experiences like anger, sadness, and happiness, etc. And Lisa Feldman Barrett, she's a distinguished professor of psychology at Northeastern University, and she came up with the theory of constructed emotions. And that theory has put the idea of emotions upside down, because she writes, the research demonstrates that emotions are not hardwired into the human body or mind. They are soft-wired. Unlike touching a stove and feeling pain, like when you touch something hot, you automatically feel it because it's hardwired to your system. But emotions are created by perception of the pain. In the past, theories of emotion assumed that emotions were genetically endowed. They weren't learned as much. So, the saying like he inherited his temper from his father, or those type of things, just like his mother or her mother. So what is meant by thoughts being soft-wired? Well, let's try this. So we're all going to do this together. If I invite you to do it, you can close your eyes, or you can take a gentle stare, and then just follow my words. So what we're going to do is just try to think of a time that was really special, just a really joyful time. Take a deep breath. Maybe it's a moment where you felt bliss, happiness. Picture that moment in your mind. You can create a vivid picture, the voices, sounds. Maybe you can identify the colors. Just feel how amazing that moment in your life was. Okay. I invite you to open up your eyes, come back, turn here. And so how did you feel? What were the emotions you were feeling? Were they positive? Did you feel peace? Maybe we're struggling to find joy. But you can think to yourself, what was I feeling? Most people can get to joy. Not everybody, but we can have great moments. Now, this great feeling of joy, hopefully, was created by my voice. I just poked you to stimulate you to feel emotion of bliss or happiness. The voice stimulated your thoughts. In your mind, you created the motion. This is what Barrett means by soft wire. Right? Her breakthrough in science was a proof that emotions are not things that are happening to us. Emotions are being created by us. That's profound. You know, I don't know in my experience of teaching and in business, I find people try to blame others for their feelings and emotions, as if, but if Barrett is right, and she is the most renowned theory right now in emotions, we're creating them. So in life, the voice in our head create these motions. They can create it to find bliss and joy, or it can create feelings of pain, suffering, resentment. All those are different terms for feelings. Now, why do we, more often, it's easier to think of negative emotions, fear, you know, we're easily hurt. We can have fear and we identify threats. And those are survival instincts. Survival in our evolution is necessitated being aware of danger, or we would be eaten by the tiger or starve or we wouldn't get food in the morning. So the anticipation of the worst things helps us to survive in the past. Right? So picture a rabbit enjoying life, meditating in the sun on the African plains where lions are roaming, right? It's not his best strategy for survival because there's predators. So the rabbit has to remember, the last time I was doing this, I have to protect myself from it. Or in the future, where's the danger coming from? And we automatically, as humans, start to have those ways of thought and emotions, like, were they trying to hurt me? Or our ego gets hurt because our kids talk back to us, or they're not giving us attention. And so we try to protect ourselves. Evolution programmed us to remember threats and prepare for being hurt. But we needed each other to survive. So we naturally have the identification of, hey, what's going on? How are we getting along? So what I'm going to do is just share this screen. We'll take another look at, see if you can identify these emotions. Can you see the images? Can you all see the emojis? Yeah. So if you look at these emojis, and I'm not sure what you can see on your screen, but there's the shock. Just with a few lines, you can see sadness, you can see anger, right? You can see all these different emotions with just a few little lines. Swoop up, swoop down, eyes looking in, and our system in our brain, our communication system says, oh, they're sad, or they're angry, or they're being spiteful. And so those emotions constantly happen. So when our kids roll their eyes, or our husbands or wives don't pay attention to us, or they're looking the other direction, or it stimulates that reaction. There's pain, there's trouble on the horizon. I'm a rabbit in the middle of the safari, you know? And so we react to protect ourselves. Sorry, I gotta get back to my screen. There are many lions roaming around, and these thoughts become subconscious, just that we have like them in our own psyche. They're there just brewing and we can't identify them. And the irony is that in today's world, the people that hurt us the most are not lions. They're the people that we care for the most, right? If somebody I don't ever know is sitting on the other side of the world and is going, that George May, he's one son of a gun, you know, I don't care. I don't even know them. But if a friend said that, I would be so hurt. And so we are vulnerable for that. And so we, in our society, everything seems to be coming into our minds. And when does it stop? Right? When do we identify the second arrow? The other thing is it's very hard to, without mindfulness, we can't see, right? It's somewhere in there, but we're delusional of what's going on. I'm going to bring up another picture here. Can you all see that? It's a circle. So inside that circle, there are numbers. So take a look and see, maybe you can write down or think in your mind what numbers you're going to see. So now I'm going to stop it. Now, did anybody see 6 numbers? Most people can see 3, right? Most people, 4, 3. Yeah, because the more you look at it, you begin to see other numbers. There was a 528 in the middle. If you look a little closer, I'll put it back up in a second. Then there's the 45283, but the actual number is 3452839. There's 7 numbers. So let me share the screen again, and you can take a look. Oh, I've lost my, I closed out the picture. Hang on just a second, see if I can get it back. I closed down the picture, so we're not going to be able to go back to it. But you get the idea, hopefully, that these, through mindfulness, we start to see what's really happening. We can see the extra numbers. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at our emotions through a process called RAIN. RAIN is an acronym. It's R is for to recognize what is going on. So you recognize the emotion. You might say, I see anxiety. There's jealousy, or there's sadness. It might be joy or pride or whatever the emotion is. You recognize it. As we're meditating, I'll give you some ideas. And in your own life, you can recognize the feelings or emotions. And then in RAIN, we're going to allow. So the A in RAIN is just allow. You allow it to be. You know, so you might say, yeah, I have stress. But, you know, Avro had hip surgery, so it's okay to be having stress. You just allow it. You say, you know, yeah, things are tough at work right now, or I'm going through a transition and I have a little bit of apprehension. You just allow those things, and you just gently, like a bubble in the bathtub, it's floating, and you're just going to gently let it go. And as you identify them and allow them, you're going to investigate. So the I in RAIN is investigate. Why am I thinking that? Is it real? Is there another way of looking at it? And sometimes it can be okay, or sometimes you can say, where are the numbers on the outside of this? Am I only saying the first three or the first 4 or 5? Is there something hidden? And sometimes it's just like, yeah, that person really hurt my feelings. So it's okay. You're just asking, investigating. And then the N in RAIN is you're going to nourish. That's having self-compassion. You know, to gently say, I'm human. This isn't okay. I have great things to offer. I'm sorry. You might be, when you're practicing RAIN, it could be something about yourself. Sometimes we have emotions like I feel like a failure. I have this emotion of failure or disappointment. And just like you do with some other things in life, you gently give yourself a pat in the back and say, it's okay. No, this too will pass. And you just gently sit in it. And this is a meditation for emotions. Okay, so we're going to recognize, then we're going to allow, we're going to investigate, and then we're going to show some nourishment or self-compassion. Okay. So we're going to meditate for about 10 minutes today, a little bit shorter. So I invite you to just take a nice position, if you can, sitting with nice posture. You don't have to. Really, when you're meditating, it's best to be comfortable. At the sound of the bell, we'll begin, but just as we're preparing to meditate, just invite you to take 3 deep breaths. All the way in, and then slowly exhale. And with each breath, you're breathing in nourishment, energy, and then as you exhale, let go and relax. Just gently following the breath. Maybe one more deep breath. And we'll return to a just calm, natural breath. You can have an anchor. It might be the palms of your hands. It doesn't have to be the breath. Just calm breathing. You might start at the top of your head and just let the tension in your face drain out each breath. Follow the sensations of the breath, or maybe the tingling of your hands. And let tension flow through your shoulders. And through your abdomen. And down through your legs and into the ground, letting tension, struggles, uncomfortableness just drain away. Breathing in, relax, and breathing out, relax. invite you to recognize some emotions that you're experiencing. What are the emotions? With each emotion, just recognize it. You might want to say in your mind's voice, hello, sadness. Hello, joy. Just recognize them. Anxiety. Maybe it's heartache. Perhaps you can identify one emotion that you'd like to investigate. Why am I feeling this way? Maybe you're feeling it somewhere in your body, like in your heart, neck. Maybe it's just your brain being sore. Just investigate, where is that feeling or emotion coming from? If you find your mind wandering, just pick up the puppy and set it down. Stay, stay, and return to allowing, recognizing, investigating. Perhaps it's the second arrow that keeps bringing back emotions of pain, suffering. And as you sit with that emotion, just let it go. Just allow it. And now I invite you to nourish and have compassion for yourself, in situations or others. Just with loving kindness. Know that you are a wonderful person. Just being here now makes you special. That it's okay. That you're beautiful. Just accept these things that happen in life with loving kindness. We're going to close our meditation now. Maybe take 3 deep breaths as we end, letting out any emotions that may be filling you, feeling relaxed and joyful, content. And at the sound of the bell, we can end our meditation. So we have about 8 minutes for some questions or just comments. Maybe if you felt some emotions that you weren't sure of, that you want to investigate further, this is a time where we can share.
George, I don't, well, a question that has been on my mind is what is the relationship between mindfulness and, let's say, the emotion of passion?
Passion?
Passion.
Hmm.
Passion for a cause, passion for whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I've heard that term of mindfulness of passion, but maybe give me some, what do you consider passion?
When you mentioned the second arrow, the question in my mind came up, how do you distinguish the second arrow, the feeling of suffering or avoiding suffering, and indifference?
Right.
Indifference. So I thought the opposite of indifference might be passion, but then how can you be passionate and mindful?
Right.
In the world, in my world, and many of you know this already, I'm an activist. So how do I protect myself? How can I be mindful, but also not lose my passion for a cause? Right. So.
Well, compassion, like in this practice, it's loving compassion and kindness. And so compassion, like Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach, they both teach that compassion is not, and I was talking about this at one of the Dharma meetings lately, compassion does not mean to be passive as much. It's compassion entails action. So it's fine. Like I hear people saying, "Oh, you're in my, these children that got shot. Oh, you're in my prayers," and that's a passive in the disguise of compassion. Whereas compassion has that empathy for something, but there's also in kindness to them, caring for them, but there's also a component of action. So then the question becomes, well, what is the right action, right? And a teaching that Thich Nhat Hanh that stood up in my mind, he said, in order for the forest to be green, each individual tree has to be green, right? So we can't make the whole forest green if we can't make ourselves green, So oftentimes it's easy to say, oh, that's so violent, or how could they do these things, when we're dealing with our own battles inside, where we can get so angry with our friends or our business associates or things like that, where there's conflict in there. So in my mind, I think from the things that I've learned is that if we can deal with the devils within us first, then through love and compassion, people will get to recognize that and change. You were saying you were I have a bit of a knowledge, Anya, because Afros told me your animal rights. My son is vegan, and he's a very big component of animal rights. And when he first became a vegan, as a young, he's 26 now. When he was about 17, everywhere he went, he was telling people, I can't imagine you're eating that. My other sons were carnivores, or they were, they got to the point where, just shut up, Rogan. I want to enjoy my burger. He was offending everybody. And, but he had this passion, like you said, to just, and now he's very subtle, but it's almost like feeding popcorn to pigeons. It's like, he is so kind, and he is so, he just very quietly orders a salad, and people start to ask him, and then it's almost like he is gentle with his approach. Now, actually, he was just training with, I don't know if you know who David Goggins is, but David Goggins is these kick-ass Navy SEAL guys, and he's a firefighter. Actually, where was the fires? Out in California. So he's a smoke jumper. The vegan, my son, the vegan, he smoke jumps, and so he's David Goggin has been training with him because they just passed their course, and he's this hardcore guy. And David Goggin and him have had conversations about, if you knew who I'm talking about, if he's like the opposite of peaceful, pacifist guy, but in his heart, he can see, yeah, it's not right, that there may be better way. So you can think about those things, Anya, how to influence, and I think kindness and love, and being able to be just settled in your own, your own ways, because at least the Buddha taught that, Gandhi taught that, Jesus taught that, Lao Tzu, like all these different wise teachers. One more, I don't want to go too far, but like in Taoism, and I taught world religions, right? So I'm familiar with philosophy in that. In Taoism, Lao Tzu said, be like a curtain. If you're static like a window, the rocks will shatter you. But if you're like a curtain, the rocks come, and you're flexible, and the rocks can't go through the curtain. And so when they attack, you just move with them gently. And the curtain never gives up being a curtain, right? It's always a curtain, but it's very flexible and just brings and contains the aggressor. I don't know if those are some thoughts you can think of. Whereas I've have a lot of people that I've known to be very static, and maybe at one time in life I was pretty static, so it's not too far. And you end up getting heartbroken or shattered, or, and so maybe there's a couple of things that you might want to think about that balance. And that's like everyone, the more you contemplate things, the more you realize, is it true? Like, are they just, being lions? Like the lion, can you change a lion? Well, maybe you can tame the lion by being gentle and kind. So maybe, and through meditation, you sit on those things, contemplate it, and suddenly they start to, it doesn't mean you never feel anxiety or fear or danger or anything like that. They still come in, but I find the more you practice, the more you have the ability to contain yourself. But that's a good question. Hopefully I didn't go on too long, but
thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Anybody with my question?
No, that's awesome. I like the question.
That was great, George. Thank you. That was great.
I really appreciate you all being here. And I look forward to seeing you again. Have a wonderful week. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Be well.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.